The rain poured relentlessly, drumming against the pavement as Emily gripped the wheels of her chair, her knuckles white with effort. The steep incline of the sidewalk seemed to mock her, each push forward met with the cruel pull of gravity. Her breath came in shallow gasps, her jacket soaked through, but she refused to stop. She couldn't stop. Not today. Not when she was already late for her job interview, the one chance she had to prove she was more than the chair she sat in. Emily had been born with spina bifida, a condition that had confined her to a wheelchair for as long as she could remember. But she had never let it define her. She was determined to live a life of independence, to show the world that her limitations were only physical. Yet, moments like this made her feel small, invisible, as if the world was designed to remind her of her struggles. As she struggled against the incline, her wheels slipped on the wet pavement, sending her chair tipping precariously to the side. She let out a cry, bracing for the fall, but strong hands suddenly gripped the back of her chair, steadying her. Startled, she turned to see a man in his late 30s, his face etched with concern. He wore a simple gray hoodie, his dark hair damp from the rain. "Hey, you okay?" he asked, his voice calm but urgent. Emily nodded, her heart still racing. "I'm fine. Just trying to get up this hill." The man glanced at the steep slope, then back at her. Without a word, he moved behind her chair and began to push. Emily stiffened, her pride bristling. "I can do it myself," she said, her voice sharper than she intended. He paused, his hands still on the chair. "I know you can," he said gently. "But you don't have to. Not right now." Something in his tone, kind but firm, made her pause. She exhaled, her shoulders slumping. "Thank you," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the rain. As they made their way up the hill, Emily couldn't help but notice the ease with which he pushed her chair. It wasn't just physical strength, it was the way he seemed to understand her struggle without pitying her. When they reached the top, he stepped around to face her, his expression thoughtful. "I'm Alex, by the way," he said, extending a hand. "Emily," she replied, shaking it. His grip was warm, steadying. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "A job interview," she admitted, glancing at her watch. "But I'm already late." Alex frowned, then nodded toward a nearby cafe. "Come on. Let's get you out of the rain for a minute. You can call them, explain what happened. I'll wait with you." Emily hesitated, but the warmth of the cafe and the promise of a moment to collect herself were too tempting to refuse. Inside, Alex ordered 2 coffees and sat across from her, his presence oddly comforting. As she called the company to reschedule, she was surprised when they agreed without hesitation, their understanding tone easing her anxiety. Over coffee, they talked. Alex shared that he had once been a paramedic but had left the job after losing a patient in a tragic accident. The guilt had consumed him, and he had spent years wandering, searching for a way to make amends. Helping Emily, he said, felt like a small step toward redemption. Emily, in turn, opened up about her struggles, the constant battles with accessibility, the assumptions people made about her abilities, the loneliness that sometimes crept in despite her fierce independence. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen, heard. By the time they left the cafe, the rain had stopped, and the sun peeked through the clouds. Alex walked with her to the bus stop, where she would catch a ride home. Before she boarded, he handed her a slip of paper with his number. "If you ever need help, or just someone to talk to, call me," he said. Emily smiled, a genuine warmth spreading through her chest. "Thank you, Alex. For everything." As the bus pulled away, she watched him through the window, his figure growing smaller until he disappeared from view. She clutched the slip of paper in her hand, a tangible reminder of the kindness she had encountered in the midst of her struggle. The next week, Emily aced her rescheduled interview and landed the job. She and Alex stayed in touch, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. He became a constant in her life, not as someone who pitied her, but as someone who truly understood her. Years later, Emily would look back on that rainy day as a turning point. It wasn't just the kindness of a stranger that had touched her heart, it was the reminder that even in her darkest moments, she was never truly alone. And that, she realized, was a message worth sharing with the world.